I'm Ken Jones, local historian, born at the Stocking, Little Dawley. Today, I'm going to accompany you on the Dawley Heritage Trail. Castle Pool was constructed as a feeder reservoir in the early 19th century for the nearby arm of the Shropshire Canal. Dandy Pool was another feeder reservoir for the Shropshire Canal, which was used by Dawley Castle Iron Works to transport pig iron to the forges at Coalbrookdale. Wide Waters is said to be fed by a natural spring. It formed part of the Coalbrookdale arm of the Shropshire Canal. It was widened by the Lightmoor Furnace Company as a reserve pool for their pools in Lightmoor, which created the power for the water wheel which opened and closed the bellows that provided the blast of air into the furnaces.
It's the Wide Waters now, where I did used to come fishing as a child. But Mr. Martin, who's out with me again today, can't remember coming down here, although I'm sure we must have come down here for a few walks when we were at the Phoenix.
This bridge carried a tramway over the Coalbrookdale arm of the Shropshire Canal from the Dawley Parva colliery. It owes its name to the long, shallow metal vessels that carried coal, iron ore and limestone along the canal. The tugboats were 6 metres long, 2 metres wide, and able to carry 3 to 5 tons of cargo, which could be towed along the canal and then hauled onto rails at the inclined plane at Brierley Hill above Coalbrookdale. Little Dawley War Memorial, dedicated to the men of Little Dawley who lost their lives in World War I and II and later conflicts. As a matter of interest, this memorial is on the site of the former village pound.
You get your reward in heaven. Well, we're standing outside Little Dawley Methodist Chapel that was now. Strong family ties to this chapel. My mother and father were married here, as was my sister. And our association with it goes back a long way. I believe it's now been turned into apartments. And the original organ that was here for over 100 years has now been transplanted into a church in Germany.
Built in the 17th century, once the site of Ivy Farm, this lovely half-timbered building is believed to be the oldest surviving house in the Dawley area. It has been extended and renovated in recent years by current owners. In 1857, the Severn Junction Railway was opened between Ketley Junction and Horsehay. In 1859, the line was leased to the Great Western Railway, and within 6 years it had been extended to run from Wellington to Craven Arms. This line crossed Holly Road here at Doseley Halt and was closed on the 21st of July 1962 to passenger traffic.
This is Doseley Halt, just the other side of the railway crossing, and you can clearly see that the edge of the platform, the old platform, is still defined here in the undergrowth. You can still see the original brickwork if you look closely enough. So that would have been the old platform. And now really all that's left as a reminder are all these line after line of old railway sleepers that are piled up on the side here. Paul just pointing out a bit of trivia there. On this sign, gravel leasos, gravel lesers, whatever you want to say, leading to Hollywell Lane. And on the opposite side of the road, where he's standing now, the sign says gravel lesers with an E. So with an E on this side of the road, without an E on this side of the road. something I've never noticed before. Well, these houses here are in gravel lezzers, as it used to be called, though not spelt. And the train line used to run along here and would have followed the line of trees in the background. And I recall coming to visit my mother's Auntie Emma's house down here, which was a little old cottage. I would assume it's been knocked down many years ago now, but I do recall we used to be able to look across and see the trains from the bottom of the garden. Well, since filming this video, I've been informed by a relative that this house, number 10 Gravel Lezzers, the one with the trampoline outside, was owned by my great-grandfather James, who lived here with his wife and 8 children. They were certainly here when the 1911 census was taken, and the house was purchased for the sum of £45 from Lord Craven. My second cousin Kevin actually still lives in this house today. This is Chapel House. The building was originally used as a chapel called Jubilee Chapel, though for some reason it was known locally as the Pop Bottle.
The site of Hollywell Lane squatter cottages. The first recorded squatter cottages were on the Earl of Craven's estate map of 1772, which showed 4 cottages on the site. Altogether, there were 29 cottages built by 1833. They were unique in their design, in that the labourers would often add to them in random manner as their families or needs grew. Thus there were some tiny cottages and some which had bedrooms over the front door of an adjacent cottage. The cottages were demolished by Telford Development Corporation in 1978, despite some local protest. More or less opposite the bungalow, on the right amongst the bushes, you can still see a small brick construction with a pipe coming out. This was the site of the Holy Well. This was a well fed from a natural spring, which gave the road its name and provided the local residents with their water supply. Its name is a derivation of Hollywell.
But looking at what's dripping out of that spout at the top of it, I'm not sure I'd want to drink much of that, to be fair. Here and there's the odd building still dotted around. This looks like a small outside toilet sort of thing, or outhouse of some kind. This is just past the well. Yeah, that's a wall of summit, isn't it? Possibly an outhouse, I'd say that. That looks very like the side of, again, one of the pictures I've seen recently. This bottom bit of this wall looks very similar to a house on one of the old pictures. Well, judging by the, again, little toilet I can only imagine there, and the fact that there's brickwork all along the side of here, I'm just at the start of Woodhouse Lane, and I reckon I'm probably standing in what would have been somebody's living room at one time or another, just in among the trees here. So still remnants left to remind you of how it used to be along this area. You see these little stones inset into the wall here. I would say this was definitely the gate up to somebody's house at one time or other. That was probably again somebody's outside toilet or little lean-to at the side of the house. Well, I'm now standing at the junction of Hollywell Lane and Burrows Bank, at the top of Hollywell Lane here, and just looking across at the view that faces us now. This is a bit different than what people would have looked out on. a good few years ago, but it's all houses now. Massive housing development, and everywhere you turn there's building and development going on. Well, we're deviating slightly from the Dawley Heritage Trail now to have a look at Burrows Bank because of family connections here. My grandfather's house was in Burrows Bank, where he lived with his wife and 7 children, including my father. And later on, when my mother and father got married, they actually bought the same house and lived in it themselves. Another wall at the top of the start of Burrows Bank here. Again, a reminder of somebody's dwelling or other.
That's probably worth a few bob, that. Newport, Shropshire.
What's that? Whitehead's Dairies?
Whitecroft.
Whitecroft Dairies. Oh, well, there was a Whitehead Dairies round here. That's Whitecroft Dairies. Paul picking up old milk bottles because he's a bit of a tramp these days. Paul taking a photo of an old milk bottle.
There's many of them about here.
Tell you what, we ought to get out more, didn't we, me and you? Well, after a short break to talk to a couple of nice police ladies that came to ask us what we were up to, this is the view that people would have had that lived in Burrows Bank, down across towards Little Dawley here. Just see the ladies in the nice ladies in the police car going back down the lane. We won't go into the conversation, but they're very nice. Yeah, so lovely view, Burrows Bank, and that.
Middle of a pool, for a bit.
This road goes through the middle of a pool.
Well,
Really? Well,
try the side.
we're well into Burrows Bank now, and I have to say this is an area I've never actually visited or can't remember it, but it's breathtaking really. It's all beautiful sort of countryside. So many areas still left that are so near to built up developments. I mean, I've just shown you what the view from the end of this road is of all the houses, and now this is less than 2 minutes walk from there, and we're looking over green fields with horses grazing in, and it's wonderful. And this road leads down towards Cherry Tree Hill, going down for Iron Bridge. Well, a few seconds ago Paul just told me, by looking at his handheld GPS device, that the road we were going on was the road went through some water, and I laughed at him, but this is the road we've just come along, and it's really difficult to see because it's very misty today and horrible. But where Charlie the dog's just running there is a pool on this side of the road, and there's another pool on this side of the road, and the road does in fact go between the two. I'll give you a closer look at the one side. So here we are, this is the road, and you can just see it's right at the side of this quite large expanse of water. And then as we turn around other side of the lane, you can see that the water actually continues along this side as well. It's quite remarkable, that.